Alright, good. Got the sound going now. Sorry, I had the wrong settings on. There we go. Got the sound going now. Sorry, I had the wrong settings on.
Going down. First floor. Going up.
My dashboard back on the desktop because I was using Restream earlier and then that was no problem, but when I switched to just using YouTube, it required an extra something. Alright.
You know which way Mary Tyler Moore is?
Nope.
No?
Let's go find the Mary Tyler Moore statue.
Directions. 7 minutes. Alright. Are we on Hannafin? Must be on Hannafin. Yeah, we're walking along Hannafin right now.
So I'm going very basic on equipment right now, I'm using a little bit of a selfie stick. It's the Sony remote control that goes with this camera. And yeah, so it's going to be wobbly. I got to get used to using this live view solo system, so that way like the issue I just had right now doesn't happen when something pops and we gotta run fast to someplace and I'm like, oh no, wait, I got a technical issue, hold that pose.
Was he running in 2024?
You know, he said that in CPAC, that he was going to be, that he strongly alluded. He didn't definitely say, but so the MAGA office is in West Palm. So I'm from Florida. Okay. And so he does have a West Palm office. At the very least, I think that it's going to be, you know, Donald Jr. running. But also I'm very, you know, thrilled about Governor DeSantis from Florida. So I would be thrilled if he were to run as well.
Governor DeSantis has been the one who's the reason Florida's still open.
Yes.
Right now, probably the reason there was able to be a full sporting events now. Making a lot of people very happy.
Yeah.
So naturally he would run on the back of that, I suppose.
He's done a great job for keeping the economy open, so that way people can preserve their jobs, keeping schools open so kids can go to school. He passed, it's controversial to some. I'm in support of it, but a very strong anti-riot bill. Okay. In which case, doing what we do, I won't be spending very much time in Florida because riots are not going to be happening in Florida.
What's the bill saying?
It's quite draconian. In all honesty, I do think that it's a bit much that you're going to be, you know, if you step into the sidewalk, you can be like charged, or not, sorry, not the sidewalk, into the street, and like crowds of like larger than 4, it can be deemed a riot. So that is quite draconian in my opinion, but I do feel in the current climate and environment, it is what's needed to ensure, because like there's too much risk to then become involved with a riot.
Right.
Versus like what we have going on in Portland, where Mayor Wheeler, the way he's been handling it, riots have been going on every single day. Yeah. And there it's like, if a person is even arrested, they're released, no bond, the following day. So so you have multiple arrests going on and crimes that are committed, people who are assaulted, businesses that are burned, federal buildings that are burned, all committed by the same people who are quickly released.
they've been rioting in Portland for what, since last year?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the oh, careful. That's true. There are rules in George Floyd Square for special etiquette and more specific rules if you're white.
I'm in no means supportive of. I'm obviously opposite views of what she is.
See, it's not possible for a non-Trump supporter and a Trump supporter to be friends.
And she's a colleague, you know? She's a friend and a colleague. I can't. It's just impossible for me to dismiss somebody based on their opinions because it's such a small part of who she is. Small part of who I am, you know?
It's one aspect, and that's the issue when we're judging people based on a single dimension, when people are multifaceted. A view doesn't denote that what they are in their entirety. And that's, in a sense, the danger that we have with labeling and categorizing people off the bat with assumptions that we have. And so with dismissing, it really takes an in-depth conversation to understand where a person's coming from and to realize that often it's not coming from a position of hate or a place of hate.
Right.
We're all looking at something that's going on in a room, but all from different vantage points. And so when we actually talk to one another and put those vantage points together, we get a full picture, or closer to a full picture of what's going on. And that's really what's necessary.
It's a pretty city, though.
Let me show it around a little bit.
We were talking earlier how there's no Ritz-Carlton around here, or Four Seasons. Is there one? I don't know. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't seen a Ritz-Carlton or Four Seasons here in Minneapolis. But it's a pretty city. That's for sure.
I gotta upload some footage that I had. It's about to start. Car's gonna go. But I have to upload some footage I took yesterday when I was just walking to the Hotel Ivy, and I passed the government center, and I just heard from a distance a person yelling, "The revolution is coming!" And I'm like, oh Lord, what's going on here? So I turned on the body cam and started walking forward, and there was a man that was holding up the transit metro. Kev, what do you call that transit metro?
Metro Transit, Minneapolis.
Metro Transit. There was a guy that was like pounding on it, stopping it from going, and so of course they called the police were called because he's stopping the metro. He was standing in part in the railroad tracks, and he was pounding on the Metro Transit. Sorry for the noise, guys. It's like I have microphones at home that I'm not using, but. Yeah, and he was saying the revolution is coming, the Illuminati is behind all of this. He was yelling, like violently yelling at just the passengers that were there. And then so when the police showed up, and I'll post this footage for you guys to see it later from the view that I had from my body cam, but the police showed up, and so when the police came, it was an ironic sight because actually as the police walked up to him, they had their hands up as they were approaching him. And as they were approaching him with their hands up saying like, hey, you can't be doing this, like, can you get on the floor? Like, they were being polite, and the guy just starts yelling like, don't shoot me, Mr. Officer. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're like it was. And I was telling Kev, I'm like, a lot of things seem so staged for dramatics, but
I don't think it was.
I think he must have a mental problem because the way he was disruptive to everybody. But so the police had arrested him, and he was just saying like how he hadn't done anything wrong. But I mean, I witnessed the whole thing. I kept my distance from it. I was thinking, I knew the police would go and interview all the other passengers who were on it, so I stayed out of it.
Oh.
The Mary Tyler Moore statue. So Hopefully Kev doesn't get like his ass beat because I'm the one in a hat, right?
Oh, that's what I'm waiting for. I've never once been here.
Here. Try and hold this a little bit. I'm attached over here. This is like my leash right now, but... Hey guys. You're gonna make it after all. Oh, somebody said I have to throw my hat up in the air just like Mary
Yeah.
Tyler Moore.
Alright, hold on.
Alright. It's not gonna look fun. You guys have to screenshot this
One
for
sec,
me later,
one sec.
right? Let's see if I can.
There you go. This has the stabilizer on it too?
No, this is just a regular remote control, so it's not with the gimbal.
Oh,
Is this setup that I have here would be too heavy for the gimbal, or for the particular gimbal that I have.
that's a good shot.
Oh, that's cute. I like her. I was a fan of the show. I'm like in like a 60s and 50s, like Happy Days, Mary Tyler Moore, Laverne and Shirley. Where does
Yeah.
Laverne and Shirley take place?
I don't know. I never watched it. Never watched it.
Then Dick Van Dyke. So I liked all those old shows.
I liked, what's it called? Andy Griffin.
Yes, I definitely watched the Andy Griffin show as well.
Andy Griffin. Should we go that way or are we just gonna chill here for a little bit?
Following you.
Alright.
You're the local.
I'm a little...
Yeah, you're the local. Even if you're a New Yorker. I've been here for a whole week. Alright, show you guys more around of downtown. Milwaukee, yes. Laverne and Shirley are from Milwaukee. I just remember that song, Shamil, Shamazel, and I always thought it was like Constipated Incorporated. We're gonna do it. What was the song from Mary Tyler Moore?
I don't know.
Ah, now it's eluding me right now. You're gonna make it after all.
You can actually sing. Can't sing for shit.
So my original plan, I was going to test out using the GoPro with the live view, but then I was having issues with that, so I ended up not testing that out and just quickly using the Sony instead, because I'm going to be doing a live with Dream Floral later, and so we only have like an hour or so to walk around.
Who do you have an interview with?
Dream Floral?
Dream Floral.
Yeah. He's also an independent reporter.
Independent, who's he covered?
His channel's Dream Floral.
Yeah.
So I met him during like the DC protests and rallies. Lead's awesome.
That one seems more...
At least at this time of the day, there's still like people walking out. I mean, I stepped outside maybe at... What time did I walk outside yesterday? Like 7:30. It was a complete ghost town. It was going to be a tough decision between wearing my Antifa Sucks hat and my Trump2024 hat. But after polling a couple people, it was a unanimous consensus to wear the Trump2024 hat.
lots of police here from Operation Safety Net.
Can you explain to me more about Operation Safety Net?
From what I understand, the governor wanted a bigger military and police presence leading up to the Derek Chauvin verdict. In my opinion, from what I saw, is the governor just didn't want last summer happening again. So it wasn't a really popular decision on his part, but it's what he did. The point of the military being here was basically just to look scary. And the police were here to do their jobs, basically.
So Kev was covering a lot of the Brooklyn Center riots the other week.
Fit the definition of what you just said.
What are you saying?
Are you going to tell about your experience from last week?
Oh, that? Yeah, I'd never covered anything before. So I decided to nut up and go to Brooklyn Center and cover what was happening. And I got a lot of really crazy footage, really important footage. And it gave me
what was some of the most shocking moments that you had witnessed?
Well, watching them shoot rubber bullets at kids, watching them shoot rubber bullets at like teenagers. Basically, all they had were umbrellas to protect themselves. They were arresting press.
I heard they were arresting press.
They were arresting press. And I got pepper sprayed. I learned that if you're in one of those things and someone has a flashing light, get the fuck out of there because something bad is going to happen in that vicinity. First time I got pepper sprayed, immediately. Second time, I got a rubber bullet to the head. But I got
you were bruised up. I was
bruised up really
I'm concerned
good.
with those rubber bullets. Like you weren't wearing goggles or anything. You didn't have any protective gear on.
No, I didn't. I did not. I had a cup. I had a cup, like a sports cup.
Okay.
Like to protect your nuts. Yeah. Yeah. Because I saw some kid got hit in the.
Gotcha.
He got hit in the groin. I mean, to be honest, like it gave me a whole new level of respect for the people who are protesting there, witnessing it firsthand. Really.
You can see more of the boarded up ghost town. This is kind of unique with all these bridges I'm seeing from, in terms of like architecture of the city, that you don't even have, you have all the buildings are kind of like connected up here, right? That you don't even need to really be on the street. That's cool.
Walking around on Trump head.
You underestimated?
I underestimated how nerve-wracking it would be.
Are you feeling more nerve-wracked right now?
More when there are big crowds around.
Oh, you want to go? Maybe we should go back to the yelling group over there and ask them, hey guys, how's it going?
I'd rather not.
I'll go and introduce myself. I'm sure once they have a conversation, they'll realize, like, hey, not all Trump supporters from their perspective are what they think they are.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I have to live here after all. I have to continue living here after all.
I mean, I guess I haven't been looking at people's faces too much, but I don't think that anybody's really been reacting too much, actually.
No, I saw one, but it was just some lady, basically.
And I saw, just when I was interviewing you just now as we were walking, the guy that passed from behind you waved.
Oh, okay, that's right.
So.
That's right. Absolutely.
All right, which direction are we going? Let's go to the
that way?
Yeah, let's head over to where all the action was at last week. We should go do this in the autonomous zone.
I know, right? The autonomous zone on the south side.
Yeah. Should I wear the Antifa Sucks hat there or the Trump2024 hat? Which one do you think?
I don't know. That's up to you.
You're like a women's choice.
Ooh.
Would you walk with me into the autonomous zone wearing one of those hats?
I don't think I would.
Why?
Because I don't want to be... Because I have to live here. I have to live here, and I am a reporter here, and it might fuck me up for future stuff.
I was actually concerned with even having you on my stream. I'm like, oh, he's going to be labeled as a conservative. Some people call me like alt-right.
I probably will.
And there's nothing wrong with being labeled as a conservative. But,
No.
so Kev and I have different views on things. Met this week here in the city. And, you know, he's open-minded enough to walk around with me with wearing a Trump hat. I told him he should wear the Antifa Sucks hat. But...
I don't know. I'm not that brazen at this point in my career.
You'll get there. You just started. I mean, I was looking back when I was streaming with Adam Francisco like a couple nights ago, and we were dating ourselves and looking at our old videos of when we first started. It was definitely very Disney at the start.
When you say Disney, what do you mean by that?
I don't know. I guess like I have this assumption that people think that I'm like super sweet. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know what you mean.
But so when I say Disney, it's like so rated G in terms of things. And then like we started off with wearing Trump hats just going out in Orlando, which is not really too much of a concern. But with all of like the vitriol that we were receiving online from being Trump supporters, that it was a concern to be going out even in Orlando.
Right.
That there's, you know, that people would hurt us for wearing Trump hats. And so...
Did that happen?
No, like we had pleasant conversation with people. Most people are supportive. I mean, granted, Florida is a very like Trump state as well, so it was a non-issue there. And I had been warned when I started covering around DC not to be even wearing a Trump hat going around there.
Right.
But
You did it.
this is me.
She's got balls.
This
She's got
this is
more balls
me.
than I do.
So
Which really isn't much to say.
hey, you're walking around with me with
Yeah,
this.
exactly.
So I think we all need to give credit where credit's
Oh,
in that one.
I don't think I would go that far. Maybe. Remember, Tom Green used to do shit like this.
Wear a Trump hat in public?
Oh, he would. I don't know. It's something that he would. It's like an idea he would have. He would wear like a Nazi party shirt, like to something, like Borat or something. You know?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point of how often I've been called like a Nazi, a white supremacist, I'm mixed race. I'm Filipino and I'm Polish. And Polish people, hell, we're the original anti-fascists who actually killed Nazis in the Warsaw Uprising. So when people come at me saying like I'm a Nazi, I'm like, you don't even know the definition of what an actual Nazi is. And then when they come at me for being a white supremacist, just merely the fact because I have conservative values and I'm outspoken about those conservative values.
Right. What's your definition of a Nazi?
Well, the definition, in its actual sense of like fascism, and as we were discussing, there is left-wing fascism and there's right-wing fascism. But when you're using violence and to suppress the other person's views, nobody ever has the right to harm you, your body, your equipment.
Right.
And you know, there's a risk that goes with even just holding a camera nowadays. The first thing that they're going to look for when they're turning things into a communist state is getting rid of the media, getting rid of what is actually going out the house. And then so that's something that I've encountered as I've been going to a lot of BLM rallies and Antifa rallies and Trump rallies. I've never had any issues at Trump rallies where conservatives have become violent to anybody.
Okay.
And I was there on January 6th. I didn't go inside of the building, but I was there. And when people were saying like, "Oh, we're going to storm the Capitol," the concept of storming the Capitol was marching towards the Capitol, and that was the vast majority of people that were there.
Right.
And then you have a couple of misplaced guided souls and others that were extremists that like I don't condone any of like harm that was done to police officers at any minute. I'm back the blue. But most of the issues that I have had is if I'm identified as a conservative while I'm at at BLM or Antifa rallies, and I've had my own experience that I've been assaulted 3 times in New York for it. And at that point, I wasn't even asking questions or engaging people because I'm just streaming it to show people what is going on at these events.
Right.
And then with that, like when I was identified as a conservative, people chased. It was a mob of 20, 30 people, me, a lone female, running from a crowd, and then they attacked me with like an umbrella, smashed eggs in my head. And you saw the footage of that. So that's like wrong. Nobody ever has the right to touch another person, regardless of what views you have. Like, it's in a free-form society, like, we're supposed to have civil discourse. We're supposed to be able to have those conversations, and it's the truth that rises up to the top. But so what true fascism is it's the use of violence and force and bullying to suppress those voices, to cancel those voices, because we all should be truth seekers and truth finders, and that's what Kev and I are as reporters and journalists going out there. We're truth finders. And when people are attacking me, or even like people are being hostile to you that you were telling me about, that's wrong. That's fascism in its true form, regardless of what left wing, right wing.
Yeah, if you're holding a camera these days, they'll go after anyone from any side of the world.
Let's continue on that way.
Continue this. We are on 2nd.
So what are you using for streaming? Haps?
Haps.
And does it stream out to other platforms?
Yes, it streams out to Facebook, Instagram, and anything. Facebook, Instagram, what's it called? Patreon, Twitter. It doesn't stream on Twitter, but it'll put the link up there.
Gotcha. Let me show you guys a little bit more of the city and less of me. John Gray's like, don't forget the dirty diaper. I mean, like,
Oh,
so
you got hit with one of those?
yeah, they rubbed a dirty diaper in my face. I had never been so thankful for having a mask in my entire life as when they were rubbing a dirty diaper in my face from like behind. The guy came up and grabbed me, pulled me around, and pulled me back and like that.
And you say you got hit with a skateboard too?
Yeah, so the guy was coming at me from the front with silly string, which actually aerosol string, like the concern that you should have with that, like it might be silly at the concept, but that's very flammable. Somebody, if you're covered in silly string and somebody actually really wanted to harm you, light that on fire and you're torched. And so, and the Antifa tactics, actually in their tactical training, what they do is they will distract you from the front, and somebody will usually come from behind with whatever the weapon is. And so a skateboard has actually been defined by a lot of, I know in New York laws, and I believe also in Portland and definitely in Florida, but that is seen as a deadly weapon, skateboard. So while somebody was silly stringing me from the front, another individual came from the back and hit me with a skateboard.
Where have you heard that that's their tactic?
I follow Antifa and Twitter feeds. I mean, they operate in plain sight. The irony is you have like platforms like Parler that were taken down immediately after January 6th, but you have anarchy groups that are operating in plain sight, coordinating. They post where they're going to be. They post what they're going to do. Like there's this thing called like an Antifa bingo. On May 1st, it's May Day. And so that's why you're like it's almost like an international day of like protesting and rioting that's going to be happening on May Day in a lot of the major cities. And so they have like a Antifa bingo, and then so if you look up the Antifa bingo, it's about like who's going to end up winning, doing the most things on this bingo board, burning up the federal building, attacking the Patriots. It has stuff like that. Like they target Patriots, a.k.a. conservatives.
Kind of a pretty day out, except for the overcast.
Yeah. Saturday was actually a nice day. It's been a little bit.
Those overpasses you were talking about. It's so cold here in the Twin Cities that people can get from building to building without having to go outside. That's just a minor detail. And here's Sleep Number headquarters. I don't know. I bet you didn't know that their Sleep Number's headquarters is here in Minneapolis.
I did not.
Same with Best Buy, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Best Buy headquarters is here as well. And Target. I think Target's here.
You know, it's interesting that because Target actually, you know, it was targeted also during the riots and vandalized and looted and everything. But they're big donors to BLM.
Now they are?
I don't know at the current moment, but over the past year, like Apple has donated a lot of money to the BLM organization.
Okay.
And so you have all of these like major corporations have been, I feel, virtue signaling when it comes to it. Call it what you like, but so again, we may disagree on things.
I won't say that word.
Those social justice warriors.
I won't say you're wrong.
Everyone's like, Kev, get away from her. But yeah, so
no,
you
I
have
won't say you're wrong. What do you call that? What do you call that when they're like immediately donating money to the popular thing to donate money to now?
Well, for instance, when you have like when the Asian hate came out. So the definition of a POC, a person of color, had been moved to exclude Asians actually from that narrative because Asians in America are among the top earners for even above like white Americans. It's like Indian Americans are number one, Filipino Americans are number two
Really?
in terms of like top earners of society, and then you have like average white Americans are like still like lower in terms of income scale. And then so, but since when you look at the chart of it, like where Asian Americans are, and they score high on their SATs, and it's very competitive to be going into college. So they have a reverse racism that occurs that colleges are able to like they require a higher SAT score from Asians that are going into the schools.
Where'd you hear this?
Oh, 100%. There's a lawsuit that Trump was trying to file with the DOJ last year that says that you cannot require a higher SAT score for Asians who are applying to your school. And that lawsuit was filed against Harvard and against Yale. And as soon as Biden took office, he drops that lawsuit. And then so I'm like, wait a second, aren't we supposed to be stopping Asian hate?
Right.
Biden put in executive orders to like help the Asian community, but then you're stopping a clearly racist action of requiring higher SAT scores, a significantly higher SAT score
Really?
for Asians to be getting into schools. Because like, you know, the concept of like tiger parents or anything, I mean, I was like a straight A student too, so there's a lot of truth in that stereotype. But, and I definitely played a couple instruments, so again, a lot of truth in that stereotype. But, so they were excluded from the concept of POC. So an Asian person was not seen as a person of color. And in fact, so they were then labeled as more white because and deemed their proximity to whiteness in terms of like skin color. I mean, look at me, I'm clearly very brown. So, but that was another thing that came about. And then all of a sudden, when the media narrative had shifted to focusing on the Asian hate crimes, which has increased, it has increased, and actually when you look at the demographics, when you break it down, it's 24% for white on Asian crime. It's 24% Asian to Asian, 7% for Latino on Asian, 28% Black to Asian. So the increase in the demographics is actually for Black people attacking Asian people. And then so now, like in the last several weeks, we've had a movement of Stop Asian Hate. And that, to me, like, I see Amazon putting on their board, Stop Asian Hate, and I'm like, wait a second, now you want to focus on the fact that we're a suppressed minority when we weren't before? So that, to me, is virtue signaling, because things haven't changed in
Well,
that.
I mean, it's up to you to see it that way, because you are of that group.
Well, even if I'm of that group, you're not of Asian descent, but I would still expect you to have an opinion of that.
Yeah, of course.
Like to me, it doesn't matter what race or color you are or anything. Everybody has an opinion when it comes to it.
Right.
And that's another thing that I have like a discrepant, that I don't like with what's going on in our society is that we're removing people's opinions.
Right.
Like saying that you don't have a right to speak on this because you're...
Well, I'm not saying that I shouldn't have an opinion because I'm not Asian. I'm saying that, like, you probably want to hear an Asian's opinion on it more than you would have, more interesting than you would a white person, wouldn't you?
For me, I like to listen to everybody. I like to talk to everybody of different opinions. Even when I was at the rally the other day, it was organized by the local chapters of Black Panthers and Brown Berets. I was just there listening to the speeches. And so Like, I listen to everybody that's giving this. And in terms of the weight that I'll put onto something, like, sure, if it's a medical advice,
Yeah.
I'm going to give more advice or take probably more weight to a science expert
Right, like a doctor.
or a doctor.
Yeah.
But even with what's going on in the current faux-demic,
The what?
the current faux-demic,
Faux damage?
it's another conservative lingo speak.
I've never heard that before. It's a new one for me, folks. Faux damage.
A faux-demic. And the concept of that originates, sorry, I will veer off in different tangents. So the concept of a faux-demic is the fact that they're increasing, when they report COVID deaths, they,
Oh, gotcha.
a person who maybe died from a motorcycle accident but was COVID positive at a certain point
Yeah.
is then labeled as a COVID death. So it's increasing the amount of reported deaths.
Right.
And if it were a true pandemic, why are you increasing the number of deaths to be reported? So
I'm thinking, aren't hospitals getting kickbacks for that?
Yeah, they get more
Is that
money.
where we're gonna go from that?
the hospitals will get more money for the different having COVID patients. They'll receive more money for people that are on ventilators as well. So as if they have an incentive for that to increase their statistics, but also like so they get more resources from the state for it. But like, I have a friend who, she's a doctor in Canada, and so she had already been telling me about like what she'd been observing back in February when it came to C-19. And so she was, I'm gonna lose my hat. But when it came to C-19, she was engaged in the research for it. And her research between Canada and Italy the communication was being stopped.
Wow.
And then she also said that basically, like, they have guidance that's issued from the Canadian government that if they have to go according to what the Canadian government says. Like, if they need to take the vax, then that's their requirement. And I asked her, I was like, you know, me as a person who has already previously had COVID, would I need to take the vaccine? And she's like, between me and you, and just me not giving you official doctor advice, would be like, you're in the lowest risk area. Doesn't mean you can't get it again, but now you are on the lowest risk area because you've already had it. However, if you were my patient, I'd have to give you the official like guidance, which is you have to take it no matter what. And so to me that's concerning. She said if she doesn't give you what the official guidance is from the Canadian government, she'll lose her license.
Wow. That's crazy. She's a Canadian doctor.
Yeah. Alright, we're back
A lot
online.
of churches around here, I've noticed.
Yeah, there's a Lady of Lourdes. That's a church I want to go see if I have a
Lady of
chance.
Lourdes?
Our Lady of Lourdes, that's one around here. It's known for its meat pies,
Really?
French meat pies.
Where'd you hear about this?
There's a website I like to follow for my travels.
Okay.
Atlas Obscura, and it's
Oh,
all the
that's right.
It's all the things that are basically like obscure in an area. And there's a lot of obscure things actually listed on the website for Minneapolis. That's gorgeous. Let's see if I can show you guys. Yeah, is that another church?
It's another church, I believe.
Zoom up a little bit.
Another church.
Yeah, so guys, I'm not plugging in my battery into an external battery, so it's just going off the battery of the camera. And so I guess we tested that out to how long the battery will go before it is exhausted, and not very long. Alright, so this is Gethsemane Church. I've been there. Gethsemane, Garden of Gethsemane in Israel.
Oh,
It's in Jerusalem.
Gethsemane.
Let's lose my hat.
Gethsemane. Gethsemane.
Yeah. Where are we at?
We're at 4. I guess we can go that way.
So it was really cool. Last night I went to have dinner, and then I connected with the hostess. We were just regular chatting, and then she like whispers and she goes, "Are you a conservative?" And I go, "I'm a raging conservative." And so she said that she had to whisper it because of concern that she would be fired from her job. And that's a big concern that a lot of conservatives have with President like cancel culture, that livelihoods are at risk. And depending on the industry you're in, I have friends who work in Hollywood and in film and who are Trump supporters, but they are deathly silent about their politics, because just because of your political alignment or your political beliefs, that's enough for you not to be getting any work. That they had other signs I had put up on the gates.
Yeah, they were putting up razor wire. That was a part of Operation Safety Net. I always blank out when I'm on camera. It takes practice, doesn't it?
Oh, for sure, for sure. I mean, I've just learned with trying to stream and give my opinions as I'm speaking, I'm like, I just have to at least turn on the camera every day for at least a little bit and just rant. And it's difficult when you don't have anybody to talk to. Like, we can talk to each other now, but when you're just doing it by yourself, it's pretty funny. Yeah, guys, I miss the Trump too. Welcome any discussion from people who disagree with my views. Let's talk about it and see where we're coming from.
Are you trying to eventually get something with like a media company? Like as
to go
like on Fox, like if you're offered a job at Fox News, would you take it?
No, I'm not a fan of Fox.
No?
And I'm like, CNN sucks.
Not even if you were paid by him?
That's the thing with doing like independent, like I have, my income comes from elsewhere, so what I go out there and do and everything, that's just, I'm just shooting the shit and calling it as it is, without any influence as to how my livelihood is going to come from.
Right.
So, but I am starting with with a new studio in Astoria. So I interview political candidates on my channel. This week we have lined up the New York City mayor's interviews. So I'm interviewing Bill Pepitone tomorrow, and then I'm interviewing Adam Ormond and also Fernando Matillo. I've reached out to like Andrew Yang and both Democrats and Republicans to be interviewing them. So I'm interviewing them both on the Polish American Brotherhood, and then I'm interviewing with the new studio I started working with. It's live1.tv, and so my show on that is called The Capital.
Capital on live1.tv. Were you affiliated with InfoWars at one point?
I've been interviewed on InfoWars.
That's cool. And that's Alex Jones.
Yeah, Alex Jones, Owen Schroyer.
That's Oracle. You know Oracle? They're big cable.
Oracle. Rat. It's on green. We're streaming on our channel. How are you guys doing today? Hi. is a non-Trump supporter and a Trump supporter walking around Minneapolis. So, and we're showing how, like, you know, bridging unity between it, and that you can have different views on what's going on. That we need to end the division.
Right, exactly. Really not that, yeah.
Yeah. Small aspect.
You know, it's just a small, like, window of opportunity, I think, for him to flourish in other areas rather than run the state ever.
Yeah.
Like, I'm an independent person, so like, if I don't feel you at all, I'm just not going to vote for you.
Right.
Which sucks for the person who's running, unfortunately. But the person's, like, being independent also gives you a window to flow. You know, well, maybe if, and it's not really, it's a politician game, I think, but then also too, it's a people person thing for a lot of people who want to feel like they're being needed and wanted for the value of just not even $1. Just like, what are you gonna do to help this out? Okay, what about the 10 ideas we have? Are you in store with at least 5 of our good ideas? You know, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for being out here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks for talking to us.
I have another question off your camera.
There you go.
I'm actually out here because I stay in a tent, though I don't look like it, and just trying to figure out what to do. I'm not doing anything walking down here. And what we're trying to do is just raise money to get inspiration because it's supposed to be culture, right? And then down here tonight, and I don't know what it is, if it's about the girl that died or the guy that or the kid that died. I have no idea, but they're all coming down this tonight.
Really?
Yeah, and so they told us to move from the island area where we were staying. So we packed up everything. I was able to keep it over here, you know, in a spot where a church here.
Yeah.
And so I was asking if you guys could make help. We would really appreciate it just so that we could get it.
If I had.
Yeah, I don't have any cash.
I would. I really would. I'm sorry.
Oh God, but like that's disheartening to know that there's going to be.
Oh yeah, they're gonna come.
Well,
They did this like how many times over? It's the same. I think it's the same group.
Are they
no,
moving?
Somalia group did it first down here. They got special permission to come down here.
Okay.
Yeah, you wouldn't even have had to say anything. I'm
They're
really
gonna
sorry.
just come and do the loop. They were told to stay off the Hennepin though,
Mhm.
so they're not supposed to be down here. They're supposed to come down here.
Right.
So right over here in this area that they're
I
going
guess
to.
they're using this area down here. Because we're staying on the island over here.
Oh. Oh my God! Please be safe.
Well, we already packed up our stuff.
Good.
Just gonna store the things. Heavy gear, like we're in the tent. That's what we're doing. Along that body that kind of pumps up the tent a little bit so you stay warm.
I wish I knew more about the resources from the city.
There's
I'm not
none.
from
Like
here.
I mean, all the resources that we actually have on paper
Yeah.
are like has been fluent, same locations, everything for like the last 11 years. Those the only thing that's changed is the times so much. But then like Mary Jo's just got like thrown with like 1,000 people that just like literally came to her for every need, and she was like, "Why is everybody here? Like, what's going on?" People not just for just regular stuff like shoes or bras or underpants or kids' clothes or whatever. It's about people who've lost everything they own and they're in there like in a hotel to grab.
Yeah.
And she can't help everyone into a hotel. Like that's more pooping on the side of cancer. But I literally was on the list to go into like Millennium.
Yeah.
And we've been on the waiting list now for 6 months. And we were told we were on top of this because of cancer.
Yeah.
So it's hard, you know, and it's like my kids, they just like, they don't want to leave my side, they don't want to leave anywhere. My minister has, you know, health challenges. So we used that part to get into race, which is the only opportunity, which is in a wheelchair and health conditions. That's what we did. And that's just like for like a couple days stay, and then like, we show that to the county, and they just kind of, they don't even give us the check, they give them the check. So I was like, just like,
Good luck to you. God bless you.
God bless you.
I mean, thoughts and words aren't really much, but I wish I could help.
I totally. I just, y'all take as much time and breathe it all in and capture it and just know that, you know, there's a bunch of people there at I think it's called the Hilton, that came in, and I think they're doing the same kind of a study, just in a different way, but they're just outlandish, asking people, like, what do they think what the world needs?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. I appreciate that. Yeah. God bless you. Have a good day, okay?
All right, take care.
Bye. So there's political protests tonight.
Yeah, the protest protests around here.
Yeah. I almost
Still, probably gonna stay downtown and cover it for y'all.
me too. I think I might be canceling my dinner.
We
Scheduling
shall
that for
see.
tomorrow.
We shall see. I would.
Well, that was a great conversation we had
Yeah, it
just
was.
there. Like,
I
I'm
wish I
so.
could've just filmed the whole thing.
Yeah. So both Kevin and I turned our cameras away. She asked us to. But I hope that you guys could at least hear the audio because that was really good. That was a really good
It was.
question for what she was saying.
She's living in the tents here, the tent areas here, and now there are protests coming today. The police are going around telling them to move, right?
Yeah. So they've been ordered to stay off of Hennepin, but Hennepin, sorry, not from here. I can't say the words. Hennepin, and so the tent area that she was staying in, the police came and scooped them up basically and moved them. But it is cold. You guys can see from my jacket right here. It's going to be very cold tonight. It's been like off and on that it said it was going to be snowing. I wish I had cash at that moment.
Yeah, me too.
Is the musical building over there? So I actually do have to get back to the hotel, Kev, so that I can do my other live stream.
Yep.
So I am going to, let's see. All right, guys. So I am going to be cutting off the stream right now, heading back to the hotel. I'm going to be coming back on very shortly with Dream Floral, and yeah. So if there's going to be protests that are coming through this way, I'll be out there covering that as well.